from the national series of the Liberia Broadcasting System. Good afternoon. Welcome to Newsline, 60 minutes of happiness from Liberia and beyond. Today is Tuesday, the 17th day of February 2026, and I'm Alexandra. I'm not presenting. These are the top stories. Supreme Court Justice in Chamber orders government to reinstate former National Public Health Institute Director General or pay his just compensation. Famous United States black civil rights campaigner Reverend Jesse Jackson dies at age 84. Senate confirms Youth and Sports Minister designates Cornelia Crown. And away from home, Nigeria confirms the arrival of more U.S. military personnel to target Islamist insurgents. Also coming up is an ELBC commentary titled Africa Must Speak with One Voice, why President Joseph Boyga's UN Reform Court matters. These stories, the news bulletin, sports, the news in simple English and French, plus our foreign developments, all packaged for you on this edition of Newsline. But first, Grace Tower says to please with the news bulletin.
Government has been ordered to reinstate the former Director General of the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, Dr. Chris Ian, or pay his just compensation for the period of service up to the end of his tenure. It followed the granting of a preemptory writ of prohibition filed by Associate Justice James Edgar Howard Wolckley. The writ was filed by Dr. Ian's lawyers. Preemptory writ is an absolute judicial power requiring a government branch to immediately perform a mandatory legal duty or compelling a public official or lower court to act or stop acting when the law requires it. Initially, Dr. Young's legal team filed a writ of prohibition before the presiding justice on grounds that the executive removed him from office as Director General of NFL without investigation to establish a cause consistent with due process as contained in the Enfield Act of 2016. Justice Wolckley ruled that Dr. Young was dismissed without proof of subsequent complaints and investigation. Our judicial reporter said based on the preemptory writ issued, full bench of the Supreme Court will now hear the matter as it borders around constitutionality. Criminal Court C has slapped two former officials of the Liberia Institute for Statistics, that Institute for Statistics and Geoinformation Services with 5 years imprisonment each at the Monrovia Central Prison. They are defendants Dominic Pay, former Legis Controller, and Lawrence George, former Legis Deputy Director. According to our judicial reporter, they were found guilty by the trial jurors before Judge Osman Baker reaffirmed the verdict on Monday. They were indicted for stealing over 900,000 United States dollars while serving in their respective roles in the last administration. Judge Osman Baker's final judgment also mandated the defendant to restitute the full amount of 97,000 United States dollars, but defense lawyers took an exception to the ruling and announced an appeal to the Supreme Court during its March 10 consistent with law. Defense lawyers' action now places a stay on Judge Baker's decision. Our judicial reporter says Judge Baker had earlier denied a motion for a new trial as requested by defense lawyers in keeping with law. Their charges ranged from economic sabotage, misuse of public money, theft of property, misappropriation, and conspiracy. Meanwhile, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the root of the investigation, has welcomed the ruling. LSCC described the ruling as a major milestone in Liberia's fight against corruption and a strong reminder that public officials entrusted with state resources will be held accountable for their actions. According to a release, LSCC said the judgment underscores the government's commitment to transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. It said such decision sends a clear message that the misuse of public funds, particularly those intended for national development, will not be tolerated. Famous United States black civil rights campaigner Reverend Jesse Jackson has died. Reverend Jackson died on Tuesday morning at the age of 84. He rose to prominence in the 1960s as a leader of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Jackson, in his politics, ran twice for the Democratic Party's nomination for president in 1984 and 1988. He was amongst several black civil rights campaigners present at the hotel when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee in 1968. The Liberian Senate has confirmed Youth and Sports Minister designate Cornelia Kura. It followed a report from the Senate's Committee on Youth and Sports Tuesday. According to the committee report, Minister Kura possessed all requisite qualifications to occupy the position. The Deputy State and Presidential Affairs Minister for Administration was recently nominated by President Joseph Boakai to replace Councillor Cole Bangaloo following his appointment at the Liberia Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission. The Carbon Market Authority (CMA) has unveiled a three-pronged strategy aimed at integrating Liberia into the global climate finance system. Speaking at the Ministry of Information regular press briefing, CMA Executive Officer Jenny Cooper said the authority will serve as the lead national institution for carbon markets development and oversight across the country. Madam Cooper disclosed that the CMA will also host the Blue Economy Secretariat, which focuses on sustainable management of Liberia's ocean, coastal, and water resources. She said the authority has been designed as a special climate finance vehicle to manage and invest carbon revenues as national assets. According to her, the approach will help Liberia access international capital markets through climate-aligned financial instruments and strengthen economic resilience. Meanwhile, Liberia has taken steps towards benefiting from its natural resources through the establishment of the Carbon Market Authority of Liberia. The Chief Executive Officer of the Carbon Market Authority of Liberia, Jenny Cooper, highlighted the country's vast tropical forests and wetlands, describing Liberia as one of the West Africa's most important carbon sinks. Madam Cooper noted that nearly 70% of Liberia's land surface is covered by dense forests, making the country central to international climate mitigation efforts and biodiversity conservation. She explained that President Joseph Boakai established the authority through an executive order in October 2025 to help Liberia monetize its natural assets responsibly. Meanwhile, the Carbon Market Authority of Liberia board said the initiative will allow Liberia to earn revenue from carbon trading while preserving ecosystems and supporting national development. Information Minister Jolene McPhee has explained the cause of the recent power outage at the Painesville substation operated by the Liberia Electricity Corporation. Speaking at the ministry's press briefing Tuesday, Minister Pia said an overloaded transformer triggered the incident on February 16, 2026, causing a brief fire and damaging electrical cables. He stated that Elbc technicians immediately isolated the affected transformer, prevented further damage, and protected nearby communities. The information board noted that their swift response quickly restored calm at the facility. However, he announced that the government has begun plans to upgrade the existing substation and build a new one to meet growing demands. And while Minister Pia also warned citizens not to pay individuals for electricity connections, stressing that LEC provides such services free of charge. Meanwhile, government has reaffirmed its commitment to infrastructure development, citing visible progress in road construction and streetlight installation across Monrovia and nearby communities. Information Minister Jolene Pia said the current administration under President Joseph Boakai is prioritizing results and service delivery over academic qualifications. Minister Pia pointed to ongoing road rehabilitation projects, particularly along major corridors and residential communities, describing them as evidence of the government's determination to improve transportation. He also highlighted the installation of streetlights along the RIA highway and other main routes, noting that the project will enhance security and support nighttime economic activities. According to him, the administration believes that public officials should be judged by their performance, stressing that competence and dedication are more important than academic titles. At the same time, the Liberian government has reiterated its commitment to accountability and international cooperation as part of its national development agenda. Minister Jeremy Pia disclosed that recent convictions of former officials followed investigations and persecutions by the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, demonstrating the government's respect for due process. He said the administration remains focused on fighting corruption through lawful means, ensuring that accused individuals are charged and tried in accordance with the justice system. The minister also informed the public about President Bouakai's participation in meetings organized by the African Union, where leaders discussed water, sanitation, and sustainable development under Agenda 2063. According to him, the president's engagement with regional leaders and international partners are expected to strengthen Liberia's development programs and promote regional cooperation. President Joseph Boakai has established an interministerial concession committee, the IMCC, chaired by the National Investment Commission, is tasked to resolve outstanding issues in the 2018 concession agreement between government and the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. President Boakai said the IMCC will discuss, raise, and pass upon a wide range of issues among stakeholders as part of efforts to address all concerns for the smooth implementation of the agreement. The Liberian leader, through the executive, pledged his commitment to implement the 2018 concession. Meanwhile, all operations at the Ministry of Transport related to the issuance of driver's license and vehicles registration enshrined in the agreement will close on March 1, 2026, according to a communication written by the Ministry of State. The Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated will now proceed to issue driver's license and carry on vehicle registration in accordance with the contract. Liberia Revenue Authority (LRA) has won a 1.59 million United States dollar tax case against the Liberia Agricultural Company (LAC). It followed a ruling by the Supreme Court in a long-standing tax dispute between LRA and LAC. The court affirmed legality of LRA's position regarding the application of advanced income tax provisions under the Revenue Code of Liberia. In a release, the decision taken by the Supreme Court clears the way for the collection of more than 1,598,000 in lawful tax obligation. Meanwhile, LRA Commissioner Doba Jala says the revenue secured belongs to the Liberian people and forms part of broader efforts to strengthen fiscal sustainability. At the same time, the country representative of the International Monetary Fund, Joel Okuake, says the LRA is a critical pillar to Liberia's national development trajectory. Mr. Okuake said it was for LRA to get sustained professional development to improve operational efficiency and strategic impact. He made the comments on Monday when he presented a broad range of specialized training and capacity building opportunities at the Liberia Revenue Authority headquarters in Painesville. The program covers microeconomics, fiscal policy, monetary policy, exchange rate policy, public finance management, financial sector policies, inclusive growth, and digital transformation. Meanwhile, LRA Commissioner General Joba Jala expressed sincere gratitude to the IMF for providing the opportunities, noting that the training programs will enhance LRA's institutional capacity. New Bagoma residents in Chiwa District, Grand Cape Mount County, have accused B Mountain Mining Company of failing to resettle them as agreed by both parties. The residents were relocated from their old environment last month to allow the company to expand its mining operations. However, the local residents alleged that prior to their relocation, B Mountain Mining Company agreed to provide them employment or contractual opportunities, provide health care, install streetlights, and construct safe drinking water. Our correspondent said residents claim that since their eviction about a month ago, they are finding it difficult to sustain their livelihood. Meanwhile, the company management has not responded to the allegations raised by residents. And a 36-year-old man from Cleveland, Maryland County is raising concern about the lack of rehabilitation programs in Liberia's prison system. Yemen Fala, who is considered a disadvantaged, narrated that he spent about 15 years at a Zurich Central prison but did not learn any skills to help change his life. Fala told ELBC that his years in prison were wasted, adding that the system focuses mainly on punishment and not rehabilitation. He added that if drugs must be removed and eliminated, those bringing them into the country should be investigated and prosecuted. He made a statement when members of Arise from Arches, a non-governmental organization, visited a ghetto community in Cleveland.
The news bulletin is a regular feature on the news language. We'll be back with the following developments later. Into the news now, the Justice Ministry has responded to a video circulating on social media showing members of a group calling itself the National Food and Defense Security of Liberia ongoing training. The ministry's response was contained in a statement released on Monday. Nakita Ravas read through the statement and filed in this report.
The Justice Ministry ordered the immediate halt